Absolutely, and there is such shock amongst David Amess's colleagues, naturally, and everybody that has worked with him at Westminster. And naturally, MPs are not only heartbroken to have lost a colleague in these extraordinary circumstances and disbelieving that it could have happened again relatively soon after the awful death of Jo Cox. But I think there'll be a lot questioning whether they can go on doing these in-person surgeries. I've spoken to already one Tory colleague of David Amess this afternoon that says that they probably will not go on meeting constituents in this way. David Amess had advertised his surgery openly on Twitter. That is not something that all MPs do. Some are already wary of openly telling constituents that they're going to be in a certain place at a certain time. David had obviously been in Parliament for a very long time, and perhaps, times have changed since he started out as an MP, and things have become less secure for our parliamentarians. But certainly some MPs feeling very, very stunned at what's happened and naturally wondering about their own security as they go about their business in their constituencies today.
Isabel, Sir David was an elder statesman, if you like, of the Conservative Party. He was an MP from 1983, first of all for Basildon, and then from 1997 for Southend West. Because he's been around for such a long period of time, his death will surely send shockwaves through the chamber, not just through the Conservative Party, but right across the chamber. We had, and you've already mentioned, Jo Cox's tragic death. She was a new MP. Everybody was so shocked about that. But here's a man who has given 38 years of his life to public service, serving his constituents.
And it's just, whatever way you cut it, it's just unbelievable. You know, if you talk to MPs this afternoon, they're lost for words. You know, the word that just comes up, unbelievable, unbelievable. I don't know what to say. I don't know what to think. And, you know, people are wondering, is this a horrendous one-off, or does it, I mean, clearly it's not a one-off in the sense that we also lost Jo Cox. And by the way, there was another MP, I'm sure you've already discussed him at some point on the programme, Stephen Timms, who was stabbed in the stomach some years ago, again during a constituency surgery, and was lucky to survive. So MPs are asking, is there something wider here about our culture? Is this something to do with changing attitudes towards politicians, the kind of venom that we see very often on public forums, social media, towards politicians? Or, you know, is this something that we can't really take broader lessons from, except to say that it is the most horrendous and heinous crime?
Steeped in politics, you're a newspaper journalist to your fingertips. You know that this weekend the papers will be full of tributes to Sir David Amess, his independence, the Tory Eurosceptic who campaigned against the Iraq War and wanted a ban on fox hunting. Very much his own man, a really respected constituency MP. But there'll also be the early discussions, won't there, about how we strike this balance between wanting this constituency link to be maintained, wanting our parliamentarians to be available physically to meet with their constituents. That's what's so important about British democracy. How are we going to balance that, in your view, with the huge responsibility we have to keep our public servants, not least our MPs, physically safe?
So I believe that MPs are going to be very divided over this. We've already heard a number of MPs coming out and saying that they will continue to see constituents in person. That's what they've always done, and they are not going to be deterred by these dreadful acts that have taken place. There are other MPs who feel that actually, you know what, safety comes first. This has just happened too many times now. And do constituents really need to see them in person, or could it be done online in the way that so many other things have been done over the pandemic? And you perhaps couldn't blame MPs if they decided that actually they weren't going to risk it. I think the other question is how much due diligence MPs and their staff are putting in to the characters that are turning up at their surgeries. Usually appointments have to be made. It's probably less a question of just rocking up and hoping to see your MP than it used to be. But certainly some MPs that I know do a number of checks on those who make appointments. They have to have an address in the constituency, and there may well be other checks carried out. But that's a time-consuming process and rather sad that there should be such levels of scrutiny having to be applied when MPs have already got an awful lot on their plates.
But there certainly are some MPs, I know some MPs who still do the drop-in surgery. So I think that they will certainly be reassessing all of that. And instead, as you say, looking to see if these people are actually genuine constituents and have they got a genuine issue that they want to bring to their Member of Parliament, particularly because Sir Lindsay Hoyle has already tweeted, Isabel, or has already put out a statement saying that there will be a review of security. I think that's quite telling, even given that this has only happened this afternoon.
Yes, indeed. I mean, in the end, it's probably, unfortunately, impossible to stop the odd, random, crazed person from attacking MPs, you know, short of being surrounded by security at all times in all places. And I don't imagine any MP would want to be in that position, living their lives in that way. We're probably never going to be able to absolutely eliminate the risk of this happening. But I think some clearer advice and perhaps resources for MPs in terms of due diligence on those who make appointments for surgeries, perhaps some guidance about whether it really is sustainable anymore just to have these drop-in events would perhaps be welcome by MPs who are today feeling not only heartbroken, the words I used before, but naturally worried about what this means for them and those that love them.